back to the Fermented World channel. Today we're having a quick look in on the Vikings blood. It's been 10 days, so it's actually been 11, but it didn't get started until later in the afternoon / evening because I had to wait for it to cool down. So before I do anything, what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be taking the lid off. I'm going to be taking a sample for the hydrometer to see where the fermentation's at. Hopefully, like the original, it has gone dry. That is what I'm hoping for, but you never really know. Each fermentation is different. So let's take the lid off and see where we're at with the gravity reading. Looks good. Still a bit of a fermentation going on, possibly. So we might not actually be there just yet. And this is why I haven't sterilised everything else that I was going to be using just yet. I mean, it's got a lovely colour. Let's take some of this, and you can see why they call it Vikings blood. Not actually that far off it. This is 1.102-ish. So yeah, it's essentially dry. But there is still bubbles going about, so I'm thinking maybe leave it a day or two more. What I want to do is change the cherries over so that the ones that haven't been in the mixture then go into the mixture. Right, let's have a wee taste. If it tastes dry, I'm going to rack it off. Yeah. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to rack it. Although it's very young, that is lovely. Absolutely gorge. So I remember last time I did strain the juices out of the fruits as well. So I'm going to do exactly that again. I'm going to pop this on for now just to keep any dust and bits out. Keep it all nice and sanitary. We're going to get some fermentation stoppers. Sodium metabisulfate and potassium sorbate. And we're going to stop the fermentation. Then it's going to be racked off. Then we stop the fermentation. Then I've got some dried cherries to add, and there was 2 jars of the honey over there. So what we're going to do is we're going to rack this off. We're going to add the fermentation stoppers. Got 2 packets of dried cherries. I couldn't get the original dried cherries that I had, but I think dried cherries are just dried cherries. We're going to put them in with some honey that we're going to back sweeten it with. But we've got obviously 2 jars instead of the one that I used in the original brew. I wasn't videoing the stuff back then for a channel or like that, so there is no account of actually how I did it, but this is how I did it, just in a double batch. So let's go get some stuff sterilised and I'll be back second. I'm going to be putting it into this to begin with. Then I'm going to add the extra honey. Then we are going to put fermentation stoppers into the vessels and then divide it between 2 vessels and bang airlocks on. Obviously with adding the dried cherries before putting the airlock on. So we've already done a hydrometer test. So now all there is to do is literally rack this off. So let's just move that out of the way. Let's take this lid off beforehand, which we place back on just to keep it dust free and God knows what else. Oh, come on. Really don't recommend these bloody tubs. Pain in the arse, and they just don't seal. I need a proper fermenter. There we are. That can go away now because we don't need that. Be very careful not to touch anything. I'm going to let that juice dribble into there. And we're going to twist them and take out some of the juice. So I'm going to speed this up. Okay, so some people would not recommend doing that, and I totally understand why they would recommend not to do it, but I did it last time and my brew was perfectly fine. My hands were washed and sanitized beforehand, so yeah. At the level of alcohol we've got here, the chances are it's not going to have caused a major rift in there, so we're not going to get a sour mead from it. Oh. Gently lift this up here, like so, just making sure that it is stable. Now this looks a bit warped actually, which is lucky why we're not actually putting it in the dew flopper. So I'm going to put that down here. Unfortunately you won't be able to see it, but just believe me when I say it's happening. The only reason for this is so that I can divide it equally in between there without kicking up a great deal of the sediment that's in the bottom of that, because we don't want the sediment. So I'm going to speed this bit up. So that's it racked off now into this other vessel, and then we're going to move it into these demijohns as said. We are going to add the fermentation stoppers to the whole batch and then mix that in. Then what we're going to do is transfer and add the cherries. Now I'm probably going to put the cherries in beforehand, because last time when I put them in they splashed around a lot, and we tend to try not to do that. Now I don't even know whether you could see from the video, but my auto siphon's playing up. When I had it further down here, which I thought that it would be better, it was kicking in loads of oxygen, which was a big no-no. So that's why I brought it back up here. Anywho, let's get this started. So that needs to go up there again. And we're going to have 1 demijohn, 2 demijohn. I was going to put it all in at once, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it in to each vessel actually. Yes, that's what I'm going to do. Okie dokie. Let's add, because what it does is it mixes in as it goes, 1/2 teaspoon per gallon. Now I'm assuming that these are going to be gallons-ish, as near as damn it, as they can hold a gallon. Over there, and then we're going to crush down 1 Campden tablet per thing, vessel. So we'll crush 1 and then we'll put that in. Can be a bit of a pain. You want to try and make sure you get this as fine as possible, because it just allows it to dissolve a lot easier. We are going to stir it in. But we want it to be as fine as possible. There's probably an easier way of doing this. One of them pestle and mortar things. I bet that would be 10 times easier. And in it goes. The Camden tablet. Then repeat the process. Scrapey, scrapey, scrapey. And then as it's racked off into there, it then mixes it up as it goes, saving one part of the effort. So I'm not going to clean this because I don't really need to, because I've only just used it and it only went in the same drink anyway. So we'll let that go in there for a sec, and at least you'll be able to see the lovely colour of it. Now I'm going to speed this up. Right, so I'm going to stop that there because we want to keep enough space for the honey that we're going to add and the dried cherries, which will take up volume. Granted, not a lot of volume, but volume all the same. So we will continue over here briefly. To repeat the process, get them about the same level. They're not going to ferment anymore, fingers crossed, because the stoppers will stop that, but it's always good to make sure you've got a bit of clearance, because sometimes things just do what they want to do. And it worked out that there's pretty much exactly the same amounts anyway. I'm just going to try and get this in there though, just because I don't want to waste it. Why would you waste it? Try and keep it even so that both batches are the same. Ish. As near as damn it. Right, we can move that out of there. Yeah, so they're pretty much spot on. Now we mix, because we want to degas naturally, and we want to make sure that all these stoppers are evenly spread out and not just in clumps anywhere. We do this gently because we do not want to add oxygen. And I'm going to speed this bit up, because otherwise it's just me just stirring something. Yay, all that interesting. So that's sufficiently stirred, I would say. Now we're going to add the honey. Now this was heated up earlier on, but it's not going to be in its heated state anymore, so it could take some time. But I'll put one in and we'll see where we go, because then we've got to stir this in very gently, making sure it all gets in there. We can't beat it in, it has to be done gently. Now the only reason why I did this exactly the same way, instead of adding the extra honey in the beginning, is because I wanted it to come out exactly like it came out last time. So just followed the method that I'd used last time, and yeah, sweet as. It's going to take a while. So yeah, I'm going to have to dribble this all in over time, but we'll get there. So I've realised that I'm going to really struggle to get the last bit of honey out of this, and I can't remember how I did it last time. I probably literally just put hot water in, shook it up and added it, but that can add oxygen and I don't want to risk that. So I've literally just put a droplet of water in, and I've just been swirling it around ever so gently, and it's taken some of the honey off the sides, not all, but the majority of it. And then I'm going to have to do the same for that, but I'm going to use that water that's already in there. So let's swap this over now to there and get the other honey in, which I'll speed up because we don't need to see the same thing twice. And now we mix the honey in. So that's how long it takes to put it in after. Now, if I'd have thought about it, I'd have put it into my pitcher, but because the pitcher's wasn't big enough to take all of these, I wanted to make sure that they got the equal amount. So which is why I did it the way I did it. If I was going to do this again, I probably would do it in the pitcher where you've got more maneuverability, and I would have sterilised something with a larger handle instead of my little stick here. I've probably used something like that where you can, you know, have a bit more flexibility with it. But hey ho, you live and learn. I'm not going to record this one because it'll just take forever and make the video stupidly long, but I shall be back for the next step of adding the cherries. Whew. That was an effort. Right, so we've done that step now. Now the step of adding the cherries. And what these do is they bring back that lovely fruitiness that you lose when you ferment. So, and it'll add a bit of sugar to it as well. Only a small amount, I guess, if we're lucky. Never open a packet properly. Hang on. Why not? Right, so we're going to pop these in there. We're just going to put them all in. It's going to cause a bit of a splash, which we don't want. So pretend it didn't happen, because I forgot to put these in before. But if I'd have put them in before, I'd have probably struggled to stir the honey in even more. So it's catch-22 really. This is how I did it last time. Put them in after. So why change anything? And there we go. Now we get our airlocks, which are over here. And we cover it up with the airlocks on, without tipping the water all over that. So now I need some more of the water. I'll tell you something I didn't remember. I didn't remember to rinse the cherries, the dried cherries. I didn't rinse them. The reason why we rinse them is because they're coated in sunflower oil, and these ones have also got an apple juice infused. So I wanted to try and get that off, but there we have it. 2 batches of Vikings blood in secondary. They'll sit there now a day or so, just so I can keep an eye on the airlocks, make sure that the fermentation's stopping. Once the fermentation's stopped, we will assassinate a fly. Once fermentation's stopped, and we know that it's stopped, I'll move it somewhere a little bit cooler, let it clear out till it's crystal clear, and then bottle. Now, there is some honey left in these, so I'm gonna use them in a cup of tea. That's what I'm gonna do, because I'm not wasting it. Couldn't get it out, but quite a bit in there, to be fair, Riley. So yeah, they'll be in a cup of tea tomorrow. Because today, I'm drinking mead. This is Set Leg Welsh mead. Medieval sweet mead. Product of Wales, 12%. Really nice. Really, really nice. Bought it off Amazon, if you want to know where to get it from. And then we tidy up, wipe down, job's a fish. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you again for the next round of Vikings blood video when we come to bottle it. Take it easy. Fundamental mistake I just made. We needed to take a hydrometer reading, for the simple fact that if we do not take one now, we won't know whether it's carried on fermenting when we come to check it again once it's clear. And we won't know if it's fermented anymore. So to say that maybe it's a bit stronger than it is now. At the moment, it's 15.5%, which is nice. So we're just going to dive in. So obviously we've added honey, so the gravity will be different. And if it ferments any of that honey, we want to know that it's fermented it. Bloody dog always comes in when I'm videoing. 2, 4, 6, 8. 28. About to put the lid back on then. Gently does it. Trying to add 0 oxygen. Difficult, but somewhat possible. So 28, make a note of that in the notes, and then we'll know whether it's fermented anymore. Now, it's giving off bubbles, but that's because the fermentation hasn't stopped yet. And we've just given it another sugar source. Although, you know, it should, by rights, stop. Yeah, that's that. Thanks for watching. See you in a bit. Sadly, just realised that this vessel has got a crack in the bottom of it. So we've got a slow leak of Vikings blood. So sadly this one's going to be mine, just in case it gets tarnished in some way. Yeah, not too happy about that. It's got a massive big crack on the bottom of it. We'll see what it gets up to and how much we lose. Always check your vessels, unlike I did.